Daniel, my doppelganger, my younger brother. Love you, man. Thank you so much for taking this interview with me. The interview is just essentially going to entail a series of questions about my strengths, skills, knowledge, abilities, and emotions. So I just want to ask you about those things. I've written down some things on my end, what I perceive to be my 5 greatest attributes, strengths, abilities. And so now I just have a series of questions outlined for you in interview format to ask you about those things. So the first question that I want to ask you is, what do you think is unique and valuable about my knowledge?
I think that you have some good perspective, and I think you've been exposed to lots of different really formative environments, and I think that has helped you gain some unique knowledge and perspective. I think being raised in a big household contributes to that. Having really intelligent parents, having gone to a bunch of different schools and types of schools, and I guess people in our family, like granddad, dad, we've just had a very intellectually stimulating environment, having a bunch of older siblings.
We have, yeah.
And also I think your passion for knowledge and your passion for growth really has given you unique knowledge.
Yeah. Awesome. So what do you think is unique and valuable about my skills?
I think you have an awesome combination of skills that's pretty rare. I think you have passion and drive and willingness to work, which lots of people maybe have 2 or 1 of the 3, but it's rare to find all 3 of those. Also, I think you're just very gifted. Both intellectually and athletically too. But I'd say it's mainly the passion, the drive, and the work ethic that creates a great combination of skills.
Awesome. So then, my next question is, what do you think is unique and valuable about my abilities?
Well, I think that's pretty similar to skills, but I guess your potential would be another aspect of that. I think you do have, we all have room to grow, but I can see you growing even more. And you've always seemed to have a unique set of abilities. You have great people skills. You've got, again, the passion, the drive, the work ethic, which is awesome. So yeah.
What do you think is unique and valuable about my emotions, the way I approach emotions, the way I handle my emotions?
I think you are very in tune with your own emotions and with others' emotions, and I think often you do a great job at disregarding what needs to be disregarded and listening to what matters as far as your emotions go. I think you have a great sense on what to act on, what not to act on. I think you've got a great emotional intelligence as well, as far as what others are feeling, what you're feeling. So I'd say that's
Awesome. So now if you had to boil it all down, my 5 greatest strengths, attributes, points of knowledge, skills, abilities, emotions, my 5 greatest things about me. If you had to summarize those 5 things really compactly and concisely, what would you say those 5 greatest things about me are?
I would say your hunger for growth, your work ethic, your passion, your intellect, and your people skills. I'd say that's the 5.
Can you really quickly talk a little bit about, you touched on the people skills a little bit, but I want you to draw out some of those people skills directly and some of the areas of my intellect directly.
Yeah, I think you're really great at interacting with all different types of people, finding common ground with every type of person. You always seem to have a lot to talk about with different people. You can find different interests that overlap. Also, I think you can tell. I think you're good at balancing out the way people are. So if someone's serious, you bring a little comic relief.
Yeah, you're right.
I think you're good at supplementing people's personalities.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what was the other thing?
Intellect. I wanted you to touch on what you think basically the key elements, the greatest comparative advantages of my intellect are. Like what aspects?
Well, I think you learn very quickly, you attain knowledge very well. I think you're interested and emotionally interested in material, which really helps you learn it. I think you're passionate about material. I think you have a brain that's creative as well, and I guess that's forward thinking, and I think you just have an affinity for knowledge and a hunger for it. And what else? Yeah, I think that about sums it up.
Awesome. Okay, so now I want to tell you the things that I put down, my 5 greatest strengths, attributes, the way I see it. So these were the 5 that I put. First one is my glaring analytical abilities, whether that be in mathematics, finance, business, economics, you name it. My ability to look at, understand, critically evaluate, and then draw out key elements and takeaways from information and apply that. The second was intuitiveness, and I think you kind of touched on this a little bit with people and understanding what their emotions are and what my emotions are. And the way I put it also was what people are trying to accomplish and what's motivating them. And then that also goes back to kind of my analytical abilities, which is my ability to have a foundational knowledge and then take it one step beyond. So my ability to solve certain math problems and then take this concept over here that is one step beyond or causes me to have to really extrapolate from that and pick apart what's actually going on and conceptually apply it intuitively. And then the last thing is to hear what people are saying, to read something, to look at something, and then jump to the conclusion, jump to the bottom line, to kind of penetrate the veil, if you will, on what's actually going on the surface and what the real underlying principles, values, key elements are that are at play there. The third thing that I put down is the actual vast amounts of learning and input that's come into my brain, which you touched on. Kind of my passion and hunger and thirst for knowledge, to understand more, to learn more, and to grow. The fourth thing I put is that for nearly a decade now, I've been grinding. I've been grinding really hard, whether that was playing 3 sports and trying pretty hard at school in 10th grade, or now being a father of 2, a husband who's fully committed to my family, working, 55, 60 hours a week at the office, spending between, 6 and 14 hours a week working on school. My ability to grind. The fifth thing I put is a sentence long, and it's, I don't flunk under pressure, I flourish. And so those were the 5 things that I kind of touched on. So now I want to know, in the areas where there's not direct overlap with what you said were my 5 and what I said were my 5, if you think you would replace any of the things that you said with what I've listed here, or if you would just kind of add on to what you said before with what I have here as being directly part of those top 5 skill sets, attributes, strengths, you name it.
Well, I think pretty much everything you said falls under, I mentioned forward-thinking, creative. Sounds like I covered everything and more. Like, I counted critical thinking and analysis under intellect.
Right.
That was part of it.
Right.
So, intellect covered creativity, forward-thinking, critical analysis, analytical skills. Passion covered
the last 2.
Yeah.
So what about intuitiveness? Do you feel like that was reflective there? Do you feel like that's something that is really in my top 5 skills? Do you feel like you already kind of commented on that?
I consider that a part of intellect as well.
Okay.
Intellect, and also people skills covered intuition. But yeah, I think that's definitely...
Would you call it something besides intuition? So I told you what I thought intuition meant to me. What would intuition mean to you for me?
Yeah, your ability to perceive and make conclusions and analyze and I think it's a broad term that applies to, you can have people intuition, you can have numbers intuition.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think it's a part of pretty much all the attributes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much for your time, Daniel. I love you, man. I really appreciate you talking to me. Thank you for just openly, honestly, and succinctly answering my questions. I really appreciate your time, man.
For sure.